Hey everyone, this is Ben Birkby, and this is my week one presentation for Psychology 613. As you already know, the topic is on selling performance psychology. My actual presentation will begin on the next page, but I wanted to give a quick apology for my voice. I'm getting over a 3-week upper respiratory infection and not quite where I need to be yet, so apologies in advance for that. Hi there, and good afternoon. My name is Ben Birkby, and I'm here to speak with you today about sport and performance psychology. It's a topic that I love to speak about, and so thank you for inviting me here to share a little bit of it with you. I just have 3 pretty simple goals for the talk. I want to describe for you in a little bit of detail about what a sport and performance psychologist actually does, why that's important, and how it can be helpful to those of you that are athletes and performers, parents, coaches, trainers, mentors, athletic directors, etc. So it's probably useful to start off by giving you just a really good and brief definition of what performance psychology is. And this one here is a pretty good one. It's a scientific study of people and their behaviors in performance settings and the practical application of that knowledge. So oftentimes we are concerned with helping performers to better deal with the pressure that they are under, or achieve excellence when it really matters in what they're doing, or to achieve better consistency in their performances over time. But really, though, at the end of the day, it's about helping people reach their highest potential as a performer in whatever domain that is, and also to gain maximum enjoyment and satisfaction from what they're doing. So as you can see from that earlier definition, performance psychology is a broader umbrella term that encompasses many different domains. Sports is a very common one and one that many people have heard about, but it's certainly not the only one. And you can see the list there of many other areas of performance where people might be performing under pressure and when excellence counts, or when you really want to achieve consistency. So the performing arts, within business, high-risk occupations, military, etc. So there are 3 main ways that sport and performance psychologists go about doing their work. 3 roles they play, really. Sometimes they conduct research, so the goal there is to advance knowledge and then share it through professional meetings and journals. Other professionals want to get into teaching, where they may be teaching in universities, in different departments, and imparting the knowledge that has been gained from the field to others and help them learn what it takes and how to do that work. And then the application of that knowledge is a 3rd role that many professionals have, and they work directly with clients. That's the role that I have, and that's really the role I'm here to talk with you about. You're most likely to come in contact with an applied performance psychologist when you're working with athletes and performers. And so then the main goal of an applied performance psychologist is to help athletes and other performers to really understand the importance of mental skills and how they impact performance, and then to teach them to perform better or more consistently or at their highest levels through the use of mental training strategies. So how do sport and performance psychologists actually help athletes and other performers? There are many ways that is done, and I've listed a few of them here for you. They really do run the gamut. So everything from helping players kind of gain motivation through effective goal setting, to learning how to regulate one's intensity and emotion so that it's at optimal levels when you're performing, to dealing with performance anxiety and fear, recovering from injuries, working with and dealing with issues of confidence, team cohesion, and the list goes on and on. In case you're interested, though, a lot of coaches and athletes find most useful the ones on this list right here. So why does this matter anyway? I mean, what is the impact that all of this stuff has on performance? Well, we know that mental factors are the primary key in the day-to-day fluctuations that do happen in performance. And often it's the mental factors that really separate a good from a great performance. And then really, if you think about it, achieving optimal high-level performance is an investment over time. This does not happen quickly. It takes often years of dedication and training. And we know that mental skills are a necessary component in that. And really, at the end of the day, the research tells us that the most successful athletes and performers are different from less successful ones because they have better concentration, higher confidence, lower anxiety, more determination, more commitment, more mental toughness. And so really, this is why this matters. And this is what I get really excited about helping young people especially do, is to learn to adopt strategies and techniques and beliefs that will really propel them forward and improve and enhance their performance. Just to kind of hit the point home again one more time, I mean, do any of you know coaches that don't have any performance concerns with their athletes, or that don't want better, more consistent performances from their teams? I sure don't. So I wanted to give you a couple of stories to kind of illustrate a lot of what we've been talking about and kind of help bring it all together for you. And this first story is about a high school soccer player. He had been playing club soccer for many years and had achieved a pretty consistent and valuable role on his team as a starting center back. But when he made the varsity team at his high school during his junior year, the coach didn't really notice him. And this player was getting very little playing time, hardly any attention from the coach, and his confidence really started to dwindle. He was shaken. He started to doubt his abilities. He wasn't sure why the coach wasn't noticing him, what was going wrong, so to speak. And he maybe was lucky to play 3 or 4 minutes in a game, sometimes not at all. He certainly never started. So his issue was confidence and how to address that. So what happened was, through some goal setting in which this player decided on some very concrete and particular goals that he wanted to achieve by the following year when he was a senior. And through the use of some improved self-talk, so really telling himself that really I'm no different of a soccer player than I was before. This coach is different, and I need to figure out what I need to do to adjust to this coach so that I can get noticed and get more playing time. So that was another helpful strategy that this young man used. So goal setting and some modifications to his self-talk. And then he also made a commitment to really up his competitiveness level and aggressiveness on the field. And he set about a physical activity and strengthening routine that he kept up all year long, even when the soccer season was over. And his goal, by the way, was that he wanted to be the most prepared and best player that showed up at the next time there were tryouts during the senior year. Long story short, he achieved his goal through the use of some of those techniques, and he ended up starting probably half of the games that he played in. And even if he didn't start, he played a consistent amount, usually more than half of every game. And he really did become one of the most valuable players on the team. And at the end of the season, the coach gave him the Coach's Award for his efforts. And I will say the coach in this young man's situation made a particular note of this player's kind of mental attitude and mental presence on the field as a key factor in why he gave him the Coach's Award. So that was an exciting thing for this player. I was so excited for him when he was able to achieve that. So this story is regarding a 9-year-old baseball player, a very good one, had been playing for quite a few years, and he had really garnered a reputation as one of the best hitters in the state, even at such a young age, which you can imagine comes with a bit of pressure for such a young guy. In any case, he kind of suddenly, almost out of the blue, developed a pretty strong fear of getting hit by a pitch. And although he had not had any traumatic events or any, really bad experiences with getting hit by a ball, this fear kind of manifested nonetheless. He had been hit by pitches before. It hadn't been traumatic really, and he knew that, but the fear still developed and the anxiety set in. So you can imagine that when you are one of the quote-unquote best hitters in your division, and you develop a fear of batting because of being hit by a ball, it's not a very good combination. And it caused this kid a lot of distress. His parents as well, and his coaches too, because they weren't really quite sure how to help him. Nobody was putting too much pressure on this guy. Everybody was telling him to relax, it'll be okay. But the suggestions he was getting were pretty vague and hard for him to know how to implement them. So, for example, he would be told, if you could just get your head out of the game, you'd be fine. Well, he didn't know what to do with that. Or, you've been hit before, and why are you afraid now? Kind of using some logic that really didn't land too well for this kid, and some things like that. So we had a lot of good support, and everybody was very interested in making a difference. So for this guy, what he did was he learned some particular relaxation techniques to help bring down a lot of the physiological symptoms he was feeling when he was the fear was beginning to rise in him, which usually happened when he was next at bat or getting ready to be on deck, is when it would start to really arise in him. So he learned some diaphragmatic breathing, some muscle tension techniques. And then he also, kind of had some modified adaptations to his self-talk. So kind of giving him some more realistic appraisals of what was likely to happen, instead of kind of focusing on the what if. So what if I get hit with the pitch? What if it hurts really bad? And things like that. So some modified self-talk. And then he also, kind of worked with his parents and his coaches just to make sure that he was communicating pretty effectively with them, so that he was actually letting them know how he was doing, and it wasn't this thing that was kind of the elephant in the room that nobody could talk about. He also developed kind of a little bit of a performance routine there. So when he's on deck, he kind of developed a method of saying a prayer, doing some deep breathing, and using certain phrases and self-talk that kind of just got him into the mindset of getting ready to bat. And those did seem to help him. So it was exciting to watch him make a difference in his own situation at such an early age. I think the earlier we can instill mental strategies and mental toughness in young people, the more likely they are to sustain that over time and really learn to do that on their own, which is really the goal after all. So I put a few great quotes up here from some elite level performers that we all probably know. I won't read them to you, I'll just let you look them over on your own. The point though is that it's always a good reminder for us to realize that those at the highest levels of performance in their own domain really do pay attention to the mental aspects of performance and take great effort to work to improve that part of their skill set. And finally, what I wanted to do is just give you an idea of what an effective sport or performance psychology consultant would be, what to look for if you're going to be consulting with someone. In terms of their training and experience, they should really have had some explicit educational training in sport or performance psychology, and usually that would include at least a period of time with supervised experience. You want to ask about any certifications or credentials or licensure that the professional holds and check that out. And just, consider for yourself, given what you know about their background and experience, are they going to be a good fit for your needs? And always get references if you can and follow those up. And just word of mouth recommendations go a long way. In terms of their personal characteristics, a good professional should be relatively accessible to you. They should be able to establish rapport, or you're not going to get very far. They should be, flexible and knowledgeable, but yet able to provide concrete and practical information to you. Although it's not a requirement, it sure does help if they're likable. And I think above all, most importantly, whether you're working with a sport and performance psychology consultant or a clinical psychologist or really anybody in the helping profession, you want to have a belief that they have your best interest in mind. And really what that says to me is that you have a sense that this person is trustworthy. Okay, well, that really wraps up all I have to share with you today. Again, thank you so much for inviting me here to speak with you. Hope you've learned a little bit about sport and performance psychology, and I'll go ahead and take any questions that you have now.